It's fucking terrifying for me. Will I get it right? Will I end up with egg on my face? Will everybody hate me again? I don't know. It's pretty miserable doing that, but I know it's the right path, because when you understand that, you realize how powerful it is to help people. Because if I'm right that we're going from 3 trillion to 100 trillion, we're only 3% there.
Raoul Pal is the co-founder and CEO of Real Vision, host of the Journeyman podcast, and a globally recognized macro investor.
He is known for breaking down complex financial trends and shaping the conversation around global economics and digital assets.
How to get rich in crypto without getting lucky and without falling for all the scams.
It's the same advice to everybody who comes into the space. Just buy Bitcoin. There's no such thing as free money. Bitcoin on average has like 150% return since 2012. But then once you start seeing the rest of crypto, 100%, but that bloke just made 100x. I'm all in on Farmcoin. No.
AI is becoming super tangible.
One thing I do know is crypto has a superpower, behavioral incentives of tokens. The crazy thing is AI is doing better than 99% of all analysts. For me, if it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. These things have some element of sentience.
Is Sol cooked now that the crazy meme coin meta is behind us?
I'm massively overweight Sui.
Percentages wise.
Over 70%. People lose their fucking minds. They sell their houses and buy crypto. This space is so full of risks. You have to be paranoid at all moments.
Tell me something about your life that I can take with me for the next half of my life.
Get out of your comfort zone. Go and do something that's different.
I need to find a girlfriend.
You gotta stop wearing that t-shirt for starters.
69% of the people who watch this podcast have not subscribed. If you enjoy this show, if it provides value to you in one way, shape or form, can I please ask you a little favor? Can you click that subscribe button, give this video a like and leave a comment down below? It helps this show more than you can imagine. My goal is to bring the absolute biggest and brightest people on this channel, and the best way to get there is to have all of us rally together and build the When Shift Happens family. Thank you. This conversation is supported by Jupiter, the most used decentralized trading platform on Solana and the largest DAO in the world. KAST card, my go-to card to spend my stablecoins directly with my Apple Pay to buy anything, food, coffee, or plane tickets without having to use a bank ever again. Bitwise Asset Management, the crypto specialist asset manager with more than $10 billion in client assets and more than 30 crypto solutions across ETFs, index funds, alpha strategies, staking, and more. Sui, a scalable layer 1 blockchain that's fast, secure, and affordable, built by previous Facebook developers, and that delivers the benefits of Web3 with the ease of Web 2. To support this show, please check the sponsors links in the description down below.
It's good. It's not as good as mining Bitcoin at 24 cents. But
just keep hearing these stories so they'll make you feel sick.
I'm happy to not be hearing them, because I would be wondering why I'm taking all these planes to be like white like an ass. Like you are.
You know, it's interesting because you speak to a bunch of these people. Like speak to Wences Caceres. He was like OG Silicon Valley. He bought $2 million of Bitcoin at $3, and he's like, I asked him how much he works now, and he said an hour a day.
He's still doing the Bitcoin Vault Xapo thing.
Yeah, but he doesn't work on it. But the point being is, like, it's very difficult to build any business, even a SaaS amazing takeoff product that does the same returns as just owning Bitcoin.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine yesterday who we do business together. I have a data analytics company since 10 years, not in crypto.
Yeah.
And he's been bringing me a lot of business because they do ERPs and this data collection systems that are underneath the data analytics. So we're very complementary. And he's buying back the shares of one of the co-founders because they have issues in the business. And he came and he asked me for a loan. He was like, hey, do you have some, I'm just going to my friends to get some cash so I can buy back, I can buy these shares, right? And I mean, I know it's going to be good for our business because he's less motivated because of these co-founders' issues, right? But I'm thinking in my mind, I mean, I'm like, I need to help him because he helped me when I was in tough moments, so I'll do it. But this USDC, I mean, it's Swiss franc in that case, could be in Bitcoin. Fuck, right?
I know.
He's like, and you choose the interest rate you want. I'm like, okay, let's do it 0 interest because anyway, like versus Bitcoin, like it's a bad bet.
It's just throwing money away. I know. It's like the NASDAQ is down 99.97% since 2012 against Bitcoin. And tech stocks have been the next best performing asset in the world.
So what do we do?
Just try and get as much cash flow as possible and stick it into crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm doing now with the with the media company, 60% is going into Bitcoin. The rest is in USDC. And then I have my personal portfolio for like all the more risky stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back. Third country.
Third country. We're meeting in more places than I met a woman in my life. Right?
Yeah, we're not dating yet,
No,
Kevin.
we're not yet, as you said. You asked before, what is this KAST thing? Because I think the rest, you're kind of familiar with them,
Yeah.
right?
Jupiter, Pudgy Penguin's always there.
Always
every
there.
interview.
Yeah. KAST is how I bought your coffee today. So basically, it's on Solana.
That's a very low, cheap sponsorship.
It's actually an amazing sponsorship because I use it all the time.
What is it?
So you spend your stable coins, right? If you want to leave, for example, the
What
media
are these stablecoin things? I don't own any stablecoins. I've never owned any.
So in the business, again, everything is paid in stablecoins.
Right.
And so I have this data company since 10 years, normal word, cash, right?
Yeah.
Takes days or weeks, you're paid late, and then you have crypto, right? And if you're a crypto business, you can be paid in stablecoins. And if you're paid in stablecoins, that's why people say it's a killer app, right? You paid so fast.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Incredible.
I know.
But then the next step is, how do I not off-ramp this money to spend it? You can use a credit card or debit card like KAST. Is an application. The only function today is spending your stablecoins.
Yeah.
And it just works. That's it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's life-changing, actually. It's so simple, but it's so life-changing.
The off-ramp is so hard.
It's absolutely.
In the Cayman Islands, none of the banks will accept it. So all the crypto I've ever bought, I've never been able to sell because I can't take it out.
Yeah. Let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
For people who might be new to the man I have in front of me. Let's say I'm your Uber driver. If you had to explain me what it is you do and why you do it,
Fuck, that's really hard.
what would you say?
Well, when people say, what do you do? I'm like, I'm sort of in finance, but I'm also in media and I'm also in crypto.
Do you say crypto?
Yeah.
Because nowadays I feel it's still kind of...
It's still a bit dirty.
still.
But I like it that way. I like it dirty.
Will do.
And so, it's kind of like finance, media, crypto, and you kind of see where their interest lies. But if it's an Uber driver, it's usually crypto. They don't give a shit about the rest.
Do you try to go a bit deeper so they ask more questions, or do you actually like people to just not ask too much questions so we can kind of move on?
I don't mind.
If they don't know you.
If they don't know me, they tend not to ask the questions because they're topics that scare people. Finance, media. Oh, does that mean you have a podcast or do you do whatever? And then crypto, if they don't like crypto or don't know about it, it's daunting. So they don't ask.
Another podcast, another podcaster,
yes,
and
another.
in crypto. Like, it's probably the worst combo you can ever find for people who don't understand or don't know crypto.
That's right. I mean, there's enough bloody crypto podcasts, that's for sure.
That's for Laziness Bloody podcast, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The world was freaking out a few weeks ago. Oh my God, tariffs, end of the world. Nasdaq was down bad. Crypto was down bad after most of the coins had been in down-only mode for 2 months already. So it just happened after. At some point, that's always with crypto. You feel like this should be over. And then you have this big news that destroys another 90% when it's already down 90%, right? For all our beloved shit coins. So there's all this madness and this panic happening, and then there's Raoul getting pissed on live streams and laughing at everyone. Why?
Because I've tried to explain to people this space is long term. The hardest thing to do is not lose your shit. Every newbie who comes in loses their shit. You tell them, hey, listen, because of the tightening of financial conditions last year, the market's going to start weak. They're like, yeah. When it happens, it's like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm like, I told you, the market should be weak because of the financial conditions. Another week later, what's going on? Nothing. The market's going to be tight. And then they start assigning narratives to it. And everyone starts to, and that's why I try and be flippant on the podcast to get people to understand that what they're doing is building narratives to describe why the price action is, and it may not be the accurate narrative. So it's like suddenly they go from, oh my God, we're all going to be rich, to Trump's ruined everything, tariffs are going to destroy the world's going to go into recession, this is the worst thing ever. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's as simple as the flow of liquidity into markets, and over time, crypto gets adoption. So that's why I try and just lighten it up, because I know we've talked about this before. All of our life savings are in this, right? It matters massively. And I get that. So I'm not flippant about that. What I'm trying to do is get people to relax and understand there are ways to do this, the don't fuck this up thesis that we've talked about on this podcast before, just ways of not worrying about it. And so then it's been interesting to do that Drinks with Raoul show that's kind of become cult viewing now, because people love it because I insult everybody, which is funny, because if you think of the average audience age, they're generally in their 30s. They're generally learning about things like wine and stuff like that. And they like to be told that they're Philistines and that they need to get more classy.
Why do you think people like to be insulted?
I don't know, but they come up to me all the time, say that it's the best show that they know of, because I just insult everybody. I don't know, but it's because it's genuine and it's fun, and it shows a sense of affection for the people in the community, that you kind of know what they're going through and who they are, and it resonates with them. They're like, yeah, I need to kind of get classy now. I'm getting old enough to think about, being a bit classier, stuff like that, and it's just fun. And also, just making fun of Americans is my favorite hobby in the world.
Why?
I love Americans. I love America. And because they always come from we're the freedom country, the strongest nation in the world. And so to take the piss out of them is very funny. And they don't quite know how to take it, but they kind of like it as well. So it's just a fun thing. And Brits and Americans have always had this relationship of taking the piss out of each other, like English and French have. There's this endless, through the ages fun.
Dear When Shift Happens family, the following message is probably the single most important thing you should take away from today's podcast. If you're serious about your crypto investing journey, please take some time to learn how to self-custody your assets to make sure that nobody can take your coins away. Ever. If you don't learn how to be your own bank, it is very likely that one day you will lose all your hard-earned crypto. The safest way to hold your crypto is in a cold storage that we also call hardware wallet. Hardware wallets are not complicated and they give you peace of mind. I personally use a hardware wallet called Trezor. It is open source, very easy to use, and the first hardware wallet created ever. As we like to say it in crypto, not your keys, not your coin. You can order your Trezor wallet with a 10% discount by following the link in the description down below and by using the promo code WSH10. And now back to the episode.
So what you said before is, something we say often in crypto, right? Price leads narrative.
Yeah.
So if you guys feel freaking out about the market, just have a glass of wine.
It's kind of that, right? It's like, don't forget there is life. You're supposed to be living a life. The whole touch grass thing is actually really serious, because on a physiological level, grounding yourself.
You do it?
Walk
barefoot.
I spend my entire life in barefoot.
Nice.
And so, yes, that is really important. And then it's the point of just move away from your screens, looking at tick charts and minute charts and hourly charts. They're just not going to help you. Everybody thinks they can be a trader because they see Ansem or somebody online and they think, oh, I'm going to make 100x. I'm going to do this. I'm going to trade in, trade out. When the reality is the true wealth in this space, true wealth in all businesses, are people who just buy and hold. And I know it's less sexy, but it is the answer. I see you post about this all the time.
I learned.
Yeah,
I learned.
And we've talked about this.
Like I think the people who spend their entire days, we call them chronically online, right? And you're there and you're just going crazy. First it's like a dopamine hit every time.
Yeah. But you get dopamine burnout as well.
It destroys you. It destroys you completely.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to, you have to go through that and get kind of screwed, I guess, especially when you're younger and you don't really understand markets and media and clicks and all that stuff. And you probably have to go through like, it's so painful, or I hate it so much, or I feel so bad mentally that, hey, maybe I'm going to go and do something else, right? And by the way, it also works better at the same time.
And that's that famous bell curve thing, is the moron on the left, the Jedi master on the right, and the mid-curver in the middle. You all have to go through that journey. The moron on the left, the first person in the space, is like, buy Bitcoin and just hold it. Then you go through the whole justification of everything, and then you build this massive macro thesis that is entirely wrong, and then you're trading out of your coins, and then it's like, I'm going to make the money by trading the early stage stuff, and I'm going to do the AI tokens and this and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And in the end, you come to the other side, which is just buy and hold.
Yeah, absolutely. And buy and hold, but like just only certain coins. The rest is, even the ones that we think, I mean, there's this logic, right? Oh, it's a smaller coin, there's less liquidity, it's going to perform better. But I mean, you always call that, right? You say if you go too far down the risk curve, it's not going to work. But it's actually even closer to the, I don't know, say like the top of the curve than we think. Then it doesn't work anymore already.
Yeah,
there's too many coins.
There's too many coins, and it's a game of attention. So the more coins there are, the less attention can focus on the key ones, or it hyper focuses on the big ones. Or a narrative holds for a period of time, and it doesn't hold for long in this world. So if you look at what's happened in the last 3 years over the bull market, from the bottom of 2022 through to today, it's essentially been a Bitcoin dominance game. So just owning Bitcoin has been the best bet, except for 2 asset allocation shifts, basically, that have been relatively long-term for a year each. One was by Solana at the bottom, and the other was by Sui last year. And those have been the big bets. There's been interim bets where you've made a lot of money from some of these, but they've been less persistent. So they haven't captured attention for long. So some of them have lasted 6 months. But really what you're looking at is in the top 10, top 20 projects, what are the ones that have persistent network adoption that are growing and provable? Those are better quality bets.
How do you find that? How do you find one that is going to persist through time in this crazy game where attention is everything, and usually the persistent just it's not persistent?
So there's 2 ways that look at, so this is what we're talking about now is Metcalfe's law. That's how this price is actually priced. So Metcalfe's law is how to value networks. It's how Amazon was valued, Google was valued, all of these things. And what it is the number of active users and then the total value transacted. So i.e., are those users valuable? So the Bitcoin network has a lot of users. They don't do anything except buy and hold and trade a bit. But the value of that is a lot. We've got sovereign states buying. So there's big numbers. So that's why Bitcoin is worth more than everything else. Ethereum has a huge number of users and a massive number of applications. Now, the layer 2s have confused it somewhat, but that's why it has the value that it has. So what you're looking for is projects that are seeing growing user growth and growing applications that have value. And Solana, at the bottom of the cycle, it was being priced as if it was going to go to zero, yet you could see the developer community was actually growing and the number of users was stable. And then Bonk was like one of the things that kind of shifted the narrative a bit, and you started seeing user growth. So now you've got a big, proven, high-quality team, one of the best in the business, with great technology, and many other projects have great tech, but they got the adoption. And so that started to feel like it was a decent bet. Sui's the same thing.
Yeah. We're releasing Tolly from Solana.
He's a great guy.
He's a sweetheart. Like, literally, he's such a good person.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, we spent 90 minutes talking, and you can see he's just like so good.
And he's
like, pure.
Yeah, and he's just super smart. He's a very nice person, and what they built is incredible.
And I asked him, what's the moment that was the kind of inflection point in Solana, great comeback, right? And he said, I thought it would be Bonk, but he said it's actually the Mad Lads launch.
Oh, really?
And I didn't understand Mad Lads until I talked to him. I was like, what is this? I mean, it's an NFT, right? But like, why is it like, but it's actually the kind of key moment where the Solana team realized, oh man, we're able to have something happening that doesn't break the network, and we're getting there. And he said, that's the moment I started to have less stress.
And D-Gods had disappeared from Solana, if you remember.
They disappeared at the bottom, yeah.
That's right. And then Mad Lads came and Bonk came. And those were 2 test cases. So I'm always looking for test cases where somebody's doing something that hasn't been done before that proves out. And we've talked about this before, is that memes, what they're really doing is massively stress testing these networks. and they've proven that these networks can take it.
We're going to talk about that, obviously. I'm your Uber driver still, and I ask you, you tell me, I'm Raoul, I'm in crypto, I'm a crypto podcaster.
God, that's the worst thing. I'm sorry. It's the worst.
It's fine. It is what it is.
I'm the communicator.
We're all trying our best here, right? We're all trying our best. So I'm the Uber driver. There is a simple but not easy question that every new person coming into crypto asks themselves. How to get rich in crypto without getting lucky and without falling for all the scams. So let me ask you, how can I build wealth in crypto without any luck involved?
So simply, it's the same advice to everybody who comes into the space. Just buy Bitcoin. And dollar cost average, so buy some with your paycheck and hold it and get a feel for it. And everybody I've taken down that journey, at first they do that. You're usually giving them that advice when the market's going up. Then they have the correction. They have to learn, oh my God, it can go down 40% as well. Am I going to lose all my money? They have to go through all of this. But that's the learning curve. And then after a while, they get used to the volatility and they become numb to it. And then you can say, okay, have you listened to podcasts? Have you done research? Have you been on Twitter? Not to listen to trading stuff, but just to understand what is this technology? Because Bitcoin is just a part of the space. It's the digital gold is the store of value. But then people they want to get more speculative in the space. They want to try and make money. So then you start saying, okay, listen, only use the top 3 or 4 projects.
Yeah, but so I'm the Uber driver or anyone else coming into crypto. First you say Bitcoin, right? And I'm like, everyone, without exception, will say, yeah, but Bitcoin is 90K or 100K. If it goes to 200K, I'm only up to 2x. Fuck this shit, bro. I want to make money, right?
No, not yet. Not yet. Because at first, they're coming out of 401k world or investing world, or they've got a bank account and they're getting 5% interest on their deposits, right? The Uber driver. And he's thinking, well, how do I make money? I've owned some, he might have bought a share or two or owns, an ETF. So when you say, well, Bitcoin on average does like 150% returns over since 2012, they're like, holy shit. But then once you start seeing the rest of crypto, you're like 100%, but that bloke just made 100x. Okay, this is the danger zone now. This is when they start, you talk to them and they're like, I'm all in on Fartcoin. You're like, no. And I try and explain to them is you have to go down that learning journey, do that with 10% of your portfolio, because then you can fuck it up.
Billions must fart.
Billions must fart.
I saw something, brilliant tweet, I think it was yesterday. Fartcoin is AI, Fartcoin is a meme, Fartcoin is the coin of the cycle. Fartcoin is RWA, tokenized farts. Do you hold any Fartcoin by any chance?
I don't.
Why?
I'm still holding on to my smoking chicken fish, which was down 90% and is rallying well. I've kept with that meme because, look, I don't have an edge in memes. And as you know, all you end up doing is switching from one narrative to the other at narrative peak, because people are really in the trenches, can see this, and there's a different set of signals they look for. So I don't. So I have, that's the one meme I've got still. Oh, and I own Doge.
Do you still have faith?
Do I still have faith in the chicken fish? Yes. Lord Vishnu will save us, will rise from the ashes. But I don't know and I don't care is the point. It's fun. It's fun to do. And whether Fartcoin's your fun or Whiff's your fun or Bonk, well, it doesn't matter. Just don't let it be a large part of your portfolio, because the probability is something like 85% that it'll go to zero.
Yeah. Only 85%?
To go to zero.
Oh, yeah. Something I learned with the Luna thing was it never goes to zero. It goes to 0.1, then to 0.01, then to... You can always add a zero, and it's
you can also fall another 90%.
It's crazy. It's actually, I'm laughing, but when you're in the thing, like, it's not funny. It's
I'm
terrible.
surprised that Luna didn't become a meme coin. I thought it was going to happen, where people just rage bought it for the hilarity of it.
That was the narrative that a bunch of like big Luna whales. I knew a bunch of guys who lost like $250 million. Actually, I had one guy on the podcast who lost $3.6 billion in Luna. They're the biggest loss with Binance Labs. They were a VC. And I think people got so hurt. Maybe they say, we're not going to have fun with that. But a bunch of the guys who were putting 500K at $5 in Luna to buy the dip, right? They're the same ones who were like, I'm buying more Luna because it's going to become the best meme coin. Never happened.
It didn't
Never
happen. I
happened.
thought it would have been. I thought that would have been the most outrageous outcome would have been it was the meme coin of the cycle, but no.
It would have been so painful. Ugh. Anyway, it's been 3 years.
And you're still scarred. But
But that's good. That's
is.
important. Like, that's how you're like, okay, do I even want to buy this shit? Like, or too much of this shit? Or this fart? I want to have some, but not too much. Like, for me, the main thing I learned from you and from getting very wrecked is portfolio allocation. And it sounds so boring when you're in your 20s, you're having crypto, you listen to these macro guys talking about portfolio allocation. You're like, man, these guys, they're so boring. And then you realize, like 2 months ago, when everything got like wrecked, most of my portfolio is in Solana. It's down 60% or 50%. It's not great, but I'm not bothered. And I realized, I was thinking about the difference between this big liquidation that happened like 1-2 months ago and March crash 2020, because some people were making comparisons, right? And in March crash, I was levered 2-3x on BitMEX and lost all my crypto in the crash. And I was like, you actually, no one asks you to put yourself in these situations, but you do it because you're a fucking idiot. And then if you learn asset allocation, risk management, all these boring concepts, then it becomes like a walk in the park and you can focus on building businesses and doing something useful, right?
Or you can drink wine online and insult people. But the other issue is that's not the only risk. This space is so full of risks. You have to be paranoid at all moments. Because before you know it, you're like, well, I'm buying and holding, so I want to get some yield.
Next one I want you to ask, yeah.
And then you're on some DeFi protocol that's giving you yield and something goes wrong, goes to zero immediately. Okay, that is a classic one that happens endlessly. Or you expose your wallet and get hacked. And people don't understand wallet hygiene and how to keep things in different wallets and never expose your key wallets to things, always have a step in the middle, the custody side of stuff. There's so many ways you can get hacked. There's people impersonating me online or you online, trying to get your wallet, or impersonating Coinbase online. Everybody's after your money. And you have to be paranoid at all points.
That's very true. I would say even in life in general, when you have businesses, right, it really helps you if you're always paranoid. You're always thinking about everything that could go wrong and you're never becoming complacent. And therefore your business, your life is more stressful. But for example, I was the opposite of that when Luna was going to the moon, right? I was like, I can go to Bali for 3-4 months. I'm just making money doing nothing, doing arbitrage from my bedroom, like pressing one button, making 1.5% every 21 days and printing money like crazy in UST, obviously. And then I got so wrecked, right? And I'm like, now I'm thinking the opposite. I'm thinking, if I'm not paranoid, I'm paranoid if I'm too chill, basically. So I become scared if I become too chill, right? And if I'm paranoid, actually makes me feel good because I know I have less chances of getting
upside will take care of itself.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about will the market go up over time. As long as the central banks keep printing money and this technology gets adopted, you'll be fine as long as you're adhering to not being too far out the risk curve. And then you need to be paranoid about every single other part. Because don't forget, in the end, we go back to the point I made earlier, everybody's life savings is in this. This is the single most important thing for most people in their financial lives. And there are so many ways you fuck it up by getting a little bit greedy. Does the 6% yield actually matter to you? Oh, but it gives me cash flow. But if I'm 6%, you get 6% and there's a percentage chance of losing all of your money, and you don't know what that percentage chance are. Now, that's not the case with all DeFi or anything else, but it's just that people end up doing dumb shit.
The yield is a very interesting point because now there's a big new narrative that a lot of very smart people, even Bitcoiners, believe in, which is Bitcoin DeFi.
Yeah.
And earning yield on your Bitcoin. And this Bitcoin staking and restaking and all these different things, right? I'm actually, for this drop series that I told you about before, I'm interviewing a bunch of them. I'm always thinking about you and another dude I interviewed on the podcast a year and a half ago. It's called James Wu. He's the youngest crypto billionaire. He runs a digital finance group. He's like 30 years old. And he said, the same as you said, I'm not in crypto for yield, I'm in crypto for capital gains. Any yield that I can get is not worth the risk. I can go in bonds or whatever, TradFi to get like some yield. What do you tell all these people who are trying to push the yield part on the most pristine collateral? I mean, you're saying on one side it's pristine collateral, Bitcoin, but you don't want to freaking lose your Bitcoin. Like for a yield paid in another token, like I don't understand. And they're saying these Bitcoin ETFs with TradFi is going to become a big thing because Bitcoin ETF will want to have yield on their Bitcoin. What do you think about that? And you're probably talking to a bunch of these institutions. Would they want yield on their Bitcoin?
They've dealt with no yield on gold, but they've never owned a lot of gold because there's no yield. So they do prefer it. And, that's why I think when the ETH ETF has yield, which will come, it'll be more attractive to them. How do you get the Bitcoin ETF? Well, it'll be the same as the safest yield will be this kind of borrowing fees for borrowing it. And if it's run by large institutions, you've got some backstop protection. All ETFs have some sort of yield from borrowing that's often taken by the asset manager. I just don't like it because the capital gains is so big. We're not trying to eke out an extra few percent here. And even stuff like, and I don't really understand, like Lido, the aggregator for staking, right? It's huge. But what you've got is a yield curve mismatch. So you're able to have short-term access to yield, but really they have to lock it up. So managing that liquidity, and they're smart people, is complicated, and we don't know what can go wrong and when it goes wrong because we've never stress tested it. And that could be a weak point. We've talked about weak points many times. It's like Deribit, who I love, is a weak point because it was 80% of all the option market, or 90%. Now, it looks like they might get bought by Coinbase, which is much better for the market, but we need more options platforms. They need more competition to spread risk.
Have you thought about other weak points?
No, it's the yield enhancement stuff I don't like. And without naming names, but I just don't like them. And they're all smart people and they're good people and they're all trying their best. But I think those products should be in the hands of professionals and not retail. I really do. Now, only
institution can invest in them, you're saying?
Yeah. To put their capital because they understand the risks, where are the counterparty risks, all of that stuff. And if they want to get the extra yield from doing that, great. Your Brevin Howard hedge fund and you've got cash and you want to reinvest that, or you've got crypto holdings, that's your job. But for the average person to see 20% yield and that this is amazing, I'm going to be rich, you don't know what risk you're taking.
I know a lot of very OG Bitcoiners. I know a bunch of them too, who made billions of dollars with being early. A bunch of them think that what Saylor is doing is retarded, and the others think he's a genius. What do you think?
I don't know.
It's so hard, right?
It's so hard. And I think it's either or. And I don't really know. What I do know is by him doing what he's doing, he's creating leverage in the system. So he's basically, via the convert, selling cheap options. They're being bought by option arbitrageurs and who are then laying off the option risk on exchange, whether it's against Bitcoin or whether it's against MicroStrategy's listed options themselves. But also, they're trading the NAV versus Bitcoin, which moves around. And that's feeding also within it the perps versus spot, the futures versus spot, all of the arbitrage in the system. And arbitrage uses a lot of leverage because you're making smaller returns and they use leverage to enhance the returns. It seems right now that most of the buyers of the converts are TradFi hedge funds and others. So there's people like Norges Bank who are a sovereign wealth. They buy it for just the Bitcoin element of it. But then there's a bunch of Citadel and Millennium and Point72 and all these giant hedge funds, and they're doing the arbitrage. These guys understand risk very well, and they're probably systemically backstopped as well. And their position's not big enough to blow them up. It's who else is going to take the risk further out the curve that blows up. This market always blows up
Yeah.
from leverage every time.
And we're seeing basically MicroStrategy copycats everywhere now in every country.
Yeah.
And
There's no such thing as free money.
no, for sure.
And when people start calling it like the free money machine or whatever it is, it's like, no. And the other thing is, there's a lot of ETFs that are attached to MicroStrategy's, the 2x longs, that creates this convexity, but it also on the way down, MicroStrategy falls more. And then it starts trading at a discount to NAV. And then that blows up the arbitrage people. There's easy ways to see as this thing builds and builds and builds, how it can create systemic risk in the system, in the crypto system, and maybe in the finance system.
We talked about Tolly before and Solana. Last time you shared your crypto portfolio with us. Let's have a look at what changed. Probably nothing, or almost nothing. You own a majority of Solana. Is Sol cooked now that the crazy meme coin meta is behind us?
I'm massively overweight Sui.
Over Sol.
Massively.
Can I ask you, percentages wise, more or less?
I'm definitely over 70% Sui. And that's not anything to do with the foundation that I'm on. That's my just capital allocation of my savings. And simple. It's not because I'm on the foundation and people are like, hey, he's just shilling his coin. It's because the fucking chart of Solana, Sui versus Solana broke out. And Solana was the strongest horse in the race. So if another large token is outperforming Solana on like weekly charts, daily charts, significant time horizons, and the chart pattern looks good, and you can see the adoption, and it's got a lower free float, and there's large demand, and there's a lot of developer activity, and all of the things we talked about, then I'm forced to do that. I then also looked at anything versus Sui now, because that's now your benchmark.
Yeah.
And then what's funny is you see, well, there's one token that's doing really well versus it. Deepbook. And Deepbook is the liquidity layer Sui, so I own some of that too.
Yeah, I have a question on both of them actually.
Yeah.
You tweet for Sui, I love Sol, but Sui is my favorite child. If I need to have a favorite. Other than Sui to Sol chart, what's new in the Sui ecosystem, because you're pretty close to it since we last recorded together, that makes you hyper bullish on Sui?
It's really interesting because when you talk to, here in the Middle East right now, you talk to people, they know Sui because it's Facebook. You speak to people and everybody says, yeah, they're really interesting. You see, I mean, without giving away stuff in the foundation, you just know the quality of the people. I mean, you've interviewed Adani.
I went to the Sui office in March to interview Evan and Sam. It's not out yet because they're actually a sponsor of the podcast. We're an ecosystem partner. And I did the George for the launch of Walrus, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I went to their office and there was Adeni, there was Sam, and there was Evan. And we're in this office. The energy was insane. I brought a friend of mine. We spent the entire afternoon. I did this podcast there. And then it was like a party in this office, like you could feel, and they were saying, oh, look, this is the same office as we had in Facebook. Literally. Like the atmosphere was incredible. And then we just left so energized. It was incredible.
And you feel that. You feel throughout. You see the type of projects they're going for. It's interesting because, I get called into a few meetings with some people that they're talking to, and like Christian, who's the head of the foundation, his opening question now to projects that want to work with Sui is like, well, show me the path to 1 billion users. Right? Because it's built for that scale. And if you're leading with questions like that, is like, yeah, okay, it's interesting you building this, whatever, but is this going to bring me 1 billion users? If it's not of high priority. And so their mindset is really big. And they back it up by, all of the projects that they've been launching. So, I've been privileged to be on the foundation to see the inner workings of an amazing group of people and see how they all come together. They're basically all ex-Facebook and Google. And they're very smart. They understand scale. They understand how to solve really difficult things, Walrus, stuff like that. It's super interesting. And so I think the market's picking up that narrative. Now, it's very early stage, It's going to have to go through a bear market. It'll go down a lot because low free float goes down a lot, like it goes up a lot. And then you need to see how well does the team manage a bear market, Do they have cash? Are they investing? Are they building? Which is what Solana did really well last cycle. You know, Tolly did a magnificent job of doing that under extreme pressure. And that's when Lindy effects kick in. You know, Tolly earns his stripes from that. And so it's still early, but, you know, it's got all of the hallmarks of a massively growing ecosystem, massive growing number of users, massive growing number of applications. Have they had the big breakout application yet? No. But there will be one this cycle, and that'll be the first start of the bigger narrative.
So 70% in Sui. What are you going to do with that? Because you say buy and hold, right?
Yeah.
Are you planning at some point to say, I'm going to put some of that in Bitcoin or in Sol? Or are you saying if it goes down, I believe, in the team? And
No, I mean, I've got locked tokens which will go down and stuff like that from the foundation. I will, as I've talked to you before, take some lifestyle chips off, the things I want to do with my life. And so I've not had any big capital expenditure for 5 years now. So I would like to be able to do something. And then, yes, I'll do an asset allocations shift, whether it's to, I'm not one to really go out of the market. Yes, a bit of cash to have cash buffer, but I'm not one to go out of the market because I don't think you know the shape of the downside. My fear is that Bitcoin only goes down 40% this cycle and everybody sells out and says, well, I can buy it down 70. Isn't this an easy game? And it doesn't go down 70, it doesn't go down 60, it doesn't go down 50, it goes down 40. And then it takes off again as liquidity comes and everybody's caught offside. So I'll probably allocate, whether it's towards Bitcoin or whatever, I'm not sure, but yeah.
when you say take some lifestyle chip, do you have a time frame? Do you have a price target, for example, for Sui? Or do you have an amount, dollar amount, that when you reach...
Yeah, it's
what's
kind of
the
like,
best way to look at that? Because it's so hard, right? Like
it's
to do
so
the right
hard.
thing.
And it's a function of where you are in the cycle. You want to de-risk a bit earlier than you feel comfortable doing,
Yeah.
because then the back end of the cycle can play out short or long. It doesn't matter. But you need to have enough wealth that you're feeling a little bit hubristic, like, oh, I king shit. That's when you take some money off. As soon as you start thinking, well, if I just double it again, I'm going to be really, just take some money off. We've not got there yet for me. So, another larger move in the cycle, I'll then take some money off and it'll feel too early and I'll hate doing it and I'll regret doing it, but I know it'll be the right thing.
You regret doing it until you don't regret it because it went so high and then it went back so low that you're like, I did the right thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you're always going to feel bad, right? That's the rule.
You should feel bad.
Yeah.
You're not going to time the top perfectly. And the thing is let's say you're buying a house with the proceeds. You've done well, you buy a house. Nobody can take it away from you. Right? That's an asset that you don't have the fear of somebody stealing your wallet, getting your seed phrase. You don't have a fear of putting it in DeFi. The bricks and mortar are yours. You own it. You've got a house over your head. You've got an asset that's a long term. That is an incredible thing. And so people just need to do that. And that de-risks your whole life. Because then basically it's when I bought my first house. It was a house in Spain. It was a holiday home. And I bought it in cash. And I realized I won the game. And it wasn't an expensive house. But I realized I could have a bar job in Spain and live in that house. And nobody could take it away from me. And I was like, I won the game of life.
And then you make much better decisions.
Miles.
Yeah, of course. Because low stress.
Yeah. It's like, we talk about this, the importance of income.
That's another one. Like the most reason why all these people in crypto freak out is because they're depending on their portfolio. But if you're working, you don't even need the yield, right? You just fucking work.
Just work and make money.
Yeah.
And with your excess savings, put it in crypto.
Yeah.
And worst comes to the worst, something goes horribly wrong. You've still got your income.
Yeah.
And then imagine if you'd bought a house during the cycle. So now you've got income and a house and you've got your crypto portfolio. It's just these simple decisions, but people lose their fucking minds. They sell their houses and buy crypto, which is, I've just got a good friend of mine who's just done that. I'm like, that's so stupid.
Do you tell him?
Yeah.
What does he say?
He doesn't listen. He sold his house. Yeah.
for cash to buy Bitcoin
Yeah.
or crypto.
Yeah. And
Bitcoin or
No. He's right at the risk curve.
do you have a, how do you call that in English? A guest room in your house for the eventual day.
Yeah, I'm just going to buy a tent and put it on the beach
Yeah.
where it's really hot, the mosquitoes bite, and said, well, that's where you're going to suffer for doing these stupid things. You're not staying in the house, you're staying in the tent on the beach.
It's probably not that bad in Cayman.
I don't know, the mosquitoes can be bad.
You said that your beta to Sui is the deep token.
Yeah.
What is deep book and why do you have a bag?
Deepbook is the liquidity layer for all of the Sui ecosystem. So basically, if you think about it, the more Sui gets used, the more Deepbook is used because that's the liquidity. And it's a smaller token and it outperforms. Now, will that continue in perpetuity? No, but at this stage, as Sui becomes more known and more people are using it and realizing how fast and cheap and efficient it is and what you can build on it, the more liquidity has to increase within it. And that's the liquidity layer. So it's kind of simple. Walrus is much harder because Walrus itself is this decentralized distributed data layer. It's groundbreaking technology. It's super interesting. It's multi-chain, all of this stuff. But it is its own beast. It is not actually related to Sui, apart from it does accrue to the Sui chain. You need to look at that with Metcalfe's law. How many people are using it? What is the value being done? That's very different. Deepbook is pretty simple.
Yeah. There's a guy named Cosimo De Medici, one of the NFT OGs.
He's a friend of mine.
Who tweeted, "Few see it yet, but when you look closer, it's undeniable. Right now is the greatest risk-adjusted moment in history to acquire crypto art, and possibly the last window to do so before the market changes forever." You replied, "Indeed, senor. What is the word, including 99% of the crypto nerds out there, missing about NFTs?"
So I've talked about this a lot and people still don't understand it. Right? They're like, NFTs got burnt in that last time because they're like the meme coins of the last cycle. NFTs themselves are just an amazing technology for non-fungible assets to be stored in perpetuity and traded. Okay, fine. But what's come out of this is the Lindy effect. I talked about Solana and how it survived last time and thrived. Within this, we had a bunch of digital art, amazing artists with a incredibly vibrant community that's small but growing, that are passionate beyond belief about collecting this stuff and will pay millions of dollars for it. If that is not signal, nothing is. So there's signal. Let's do the macro backdrop. We're in a $3 trillion industry right now, crypto. If I extrapolate trend rates of growth, it goes to 100 trillion within 10 years. That would be 97 trillion of wealth created. So let's assume Raoul is a total moron, discount me by 50%. $47 trillion of wealth will get generated. That's more wealth than got generated from the opening of Russia, China, all of the hedge fund billionaires, and all of the Silicon Valley billionaires combined. So, and it accrues to different people. The average man, the Uber driver, the OGs, there's a whole bunch of people in this space who
The
can...
podcasters.
You! The macro strategists, all of these people. So people are going to make money and art is upstream of everything. And the reason being is, like, I don't know if... do you know Tad Smith? So Tad is part of Dan Tapiero's 10T or 1RT. He used to be the CEO of Sotheby's. And his nice stat is the average billionaire's house has 10 times the value of his house in art. Why? Because when you're a billionaire, beyond about 5 houses, it's a fucking pain in the ass. So they buy art. Art is storage of wealth that is outside of the system, that is transferable, ish liquid, not really, but ish, and it socially signifies your status. And so what we've got here is we're about to create a lot of wealth and people will flow to art. The other thing that's happening is as you create good times and bad times, you create culture. And the culture of the internet is often led by art, the culture of everything. Now, art could be music, art could be street art, graffiti art. If you go to look at the culture of the 70s, 60s, 70s, Warhol. Warhol represented culture. And in the 90s, it was and 2000s, it was Damien Hirst. It was Basquiat. It was Banksy. And here we've got Xcopy and Beeple. And then we've got this whole movement of generative art. So people are thinking of NFTs as these stupid monkey pictures, derivatives that people bought, went up and crashed. They see all of the bad stories. What they're not seeing is the unbelievable amount of money, intelligence, focus, and passion that's coming. So I spend a lot of time speaking to some very fancy people, and those very fancy people are very interested in this space. Now, whether that's crypto OGs, because then they've now made enough money where they want to own art, and they get it. You know, a punk. You know, you have a punk. I have a punk.
I bought another one.
You bought it, and why? Because they'll probably outperform Bitcoin. They're about the same price. They socially signify in a way that your Bitcoin doesn't, because you don't show it to anybody, but you can show your punk off. It gives you access to a group of people that are like-minded. Like I'm going to a punks brunch here in a couple of days' time, and you get to meet a bunch of punks who I don't know. They're all anons until you meet them. And so you've kind of got this membership to this club. So, you know, punks is an obvious way to do that. But then beyond that, this whole art space is massive. And, you know, I'm speaking to everybody from institutions to super wealthy people through to just ordinary people. And they're starting to understand how important this thing is. And it's early.
What's the timeline? I mean, there was this tweet of, it was not Kosomo, it was, I think the punk 6529.
Yeah.
And he had this, I was in Maldives on this plane for like 30 minutes to go to this island.
Oh, the
and I was
seaplane
like,
thing.
fuck, I need to read this mega thread that he did. It was in December.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I mean, I had a bunch of NFTs, but I was like, this makes so much sense. But the time frame or the timeline is a couple of years, right? You have to be thinking.
So I think we're already seeing like the Xcopy floor price of everything has doubled, tripled. Punks have gone up a lot from the low. They're not at the highs yet. Xcopy is getting very close to its highs already. It looks like he's the big artist of the space. Beeple prices have doubled and tripled, and some of them have gone up 5x. So, and there's a lot of lesser established artists. We had Sam Spratt sell $3 million recently for a piece of art. So there's some big stuff going on. And so we will see prices rise, but this is not a trade. This is an investment. So, you know, I own a lot of this art now, and I just think of it as a 10-year plus time horizon. Like, I've got a house, so I don't need a house, but this art I can appreciate. I can enjoy the culture, being involved in the community, which is amazing. But in the end, I've got an asset that's going to be valuable because it's going to be scarce and there's going to be more money around chasing fewer goods. And these goods are highly sought after. And so I think of a longer term time horizon. You know, if I go back to, I think the conversation you and I have had, once you get to the economic singularity of when the AI and the robots are basically running the economy and we don't know what we need money for and stuff like that, a digital store of value like that is extremely valuable.
What's the logic?
The logic is, as we live in an increasingly digital world, we will value digital things in the same way we value physical things. Now, physical high-end art is 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, 500 million. The most expensive piece ever sold was Beeple. Let's ignore that piece. It's probably an Xcopy and it's probably around 6-7 million. And there's a few punks that have traded maybe at 10. Okay, so we are nowhere near where traditional art. That is all owned by baby boomers and some Gen X. Most people of the younger generation won't buy that stuff.
For sure.
And they'll also never be able to afford it. Because when I speak to friends of mine who own a lot of that kind of art, they bought it early too. And really it's the new entrant rich who comes and buys it. Somebody sells their company for $10 billion. They'll go and buy themselves a Warhol and a Matisse or whatever.
Your argument about NFTs is that they will outperform everything because they're priced in ETH.
Yeah.
And not in dollars, right?
Yeah.
ETH has been extremely painful asset to hold for the last 2 years. I mean, thanks to you, I don't, because I also followed you on the Sol trade in 2023. ETH is down bad in USD terms and even more down bad in BTC terms. What happens to our beloved JPEGs, pictures, or arts if ETH is forever cooked? There is a possibility that ETH is forever cooked.
There is a probability, and we'll talk about ETH in a sec. If it is not cooked forever, and let's say it finishes this cycle up 5x or whatever from here, or 3x or whatever, 2x, doesn't matter, and you've managed to buy art in a low ETH price, you will make a multiple on that. And if people make money, they'll buy art, so the art starts outperforming ETH. So you've got this double kicker that's available, which is why there's been a lot of sales recently, because in dollar terms, it got cheap recently, as ETH fell in this correction that we've just had. So there's been a lot of dollar buyers, not ETH buyers, because not that many people hold a lot of ETH anymore because of the same reasons. We switch for other stuff. So let's talk about ETH. What is the probable outcome? ETH's cooked. All the developers were wrong. This massive ecosystem, they fucked it up with the layer twos. Nothing accrues. What's the point? It's all broken. Solana's going to take everything. Okay, I hear that narrative. My narrative is they've overbuilt capacity for what the system needs right now. They will adjust some of the accrual mechanism back to the layer one. But EVM is Microsoft. Every bank, every insurance company, every major company in the world uses Microsoft. Not Apple, and not Google. Why is that? Because you don't get fired. And once it's in, and somebody explained this to me yesterday, it was a really interesting thing. It's like, once you have enterprise sales model, it is almost impossible to extract it from a business, which is why banks are still using Cobalt. And it's because you don't want to change it because it's working and you've learned how to do it. And nobody wants to take the risk of saying, oh, the whole company, we're going to turn to X now. So if you think of Ethereum as gone through its Lindy effects, it clearly works very well for what the financial markets need. They can build layer twos, as Coinbase has shown, that can work perfectly for what their needs. If they need high security, they can use the layer one chain. They've got all the ZK stuff and all the other stuff that's being built. So everything is there. They've just got too much capacity. But if the finance system comes, they'll go there. Yeah, sure. There'll be stable coins and Sol and Sui and all of this stuff. But, is Goldman going to build on Solana? Highly unlikely. Is JP Morgan? Highly unlikely. And will they build their own layer twos? Highly likely.
Is Goldman coming?
Yeah. I mean,
they've been here already.
They've been in the space since 2015,
and they're building on
ETH,
on Ethereum.
I don't know where they're building or what they're building on right now, but I really, really highly doubt it will be anywhere else. I highly doubt it, just because the nature of risk in the space.
Yeah.
And don't forget, ETH has a yield. It's kind of understandable for them. It's a very good product for financial markets. So I actually don't worry. I think ETH will have, it may catch a new narrative for this market, which helps it lift and play some catch up, which I think it will do. So I don't think it massively underperforms from here. I think it probably outperforms. Bitcoin for a bit, yeah. But if I was to look out 5 years, I think unless they totally screw everything up, I think it's going to be incredibly important.
There's a bit, if you look at previous cycles, like Bitcoin had this problem last cycle.
Yes.
It was kind of very hated, and it still did
because
whatever 20x from bottom to top, but like
Bitcoin changed. It was like, we can use it for Lightning, for payments, we'll use Lightning, all this. None of that worked, right? What ended up happening was Bitcoin is store of value, right? We went through the left side of the curve, through the mid curve. We did all the mid curve shit about lightning and payments and everything else. We've come out the other side and said, it's a store of value. That's what's happened there. The same will happen to ETH.
So ETH needs a clearly defined narrative that makes sense and that sticks, right? That's probably, and you're saying that it's probably going to come from...
And they're already going back to this kind of world computer idea, right? This is the platform for tokenization. That's the and I think it will prevail over time. But it's going through that, and they all go through this. They all go through that moment where everyone mid-curves it, everyone questions everything about it, and then out of the other side comes back to the beginning, which was like, okay, this is a compute platform that operates at global scale and is decentralized. Go use it.
You mentioned before $100 trillion in value. If I'm a moron, $50 trillion. I noticed in the last 6 to 8 months, the smartest VCs, they're saying that they haven't invested in crypto in a long time. They're more focused on humanoid robots, for example, right? And meanwhile, we have AI that is becoming super, super, super tangible. It's on another level. It's incredible. I prepare a lot of these interviews now with AI. And from what I understand, some smart crypto devs are leaving crypto to build in AI. Is there a chance that crypto doesn't end up being a truly game-changing technology, and therefore that it never reaches the 50 or $100 trillion in value that you're forecasting?
So I had a conversation last night with one of the most famous VCs of all time, who's in crypto and was in fintech. He's still a fintech, and he was worried about this, is the talent density moving to AI, and hadn't really thought that through. But he said, look, I don't see developer growth growing fast enough. But, one thing I do know is crypto has a superpower: behavioral incentives of tokens. And in AI, you might get a nice job. It's not clear whose equity is going to be worth anything. But tokens are fast to accrue value. And as the market starts pushing higher in the phase 2 of the banana zone, they'll come. So I'm not overly concerned by it, I think.
When is banana zone phase 2 starting?
Well, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it started.
Last time we did the interview, it started like a week or two after, right?
That's right, and that was the phase 1. Then we had the correction, and now all the forward-looking stuff that I keep posting on X every day says we just go up from here. And nobody wants to believe it, because nobody can believe we can have nice things, but we can have nice things. We're just patient.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen in AI so far?
Oh, fuck, I've gone deep down this rabbit hole, really deep. So the crazy thing is, at the simplest level, is I ask it pretty simple macro questions and ask for its thoughts on it. And it's now breaking down probabilistic outcomes in the future. So macro's hard for AI because it's future outcomes. It's not analyzing today or analyzing history. It's analyzing history and today and making probabilistic outcomes in the future based on unknown variables. It's doing better than 99% of all analysts already. And then it'll build you, if it says, hey, do you want me to build you a widget so you can monitor these things on the dashboard? And it's like, and that's all in one prompt. It's like, it's fucking bananas now. But it's not that. It's like the AI thing is a much bigger can of worms. And it's a can of worms about consciousness. So are we creating an artificial consciousness? Are these models alive? And there's a whole mid-curve thing that goes through. For me, if it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. These things have some element of sentience or consciousness. You can argue what consciousness is, all of this stuff. But it starts driving you down a path of what is consciousness? Where does AI fit? Because very soon ASI means we have this superintelligence. What is that superintelligence? Well, if the superintelligence learnt from us, we are kind of network nodes of consciousness that are feeding this beast, this new super beast, this new god. And once you start going down that thing, then you start going down the school of physics that says that everything is conscious, panpsychism, that trees are conscious, everything else. And you see the schools of thought like Jeffrey Hinton and others who are saying everything is a form of compute, even a rock. A rock is a hard storage data on geological time horizon, which says what the world was like back then and how it evolved. So it's like a hard drive. And so you're creating like this supernode of consciousness of everything that's existed. This AI is part of this. We're giving birth to something much bigger than anybody understands. They're all talking about, oh, am I going to lose my job? Or, am I going to get more productive? You have no fucking clue what understands when this thing it's currently got an IQ of 145. It's doubling every year in IQ. IQ is a bad measure. I get it. Again, don't mid-curve it. It's smart. It's going to double in smartness next year. That's smarter than any human that's ever existed. Then it's going to double again and again and again. We don't know what that means. And nobody does. To have a super creature that is more intelligent than us. Why have government? Why have companies?
Yeah. The super smart people in general, but I would say I know more of them in crypto because I'm in crypto, right? Super smart crypto OGs, they actually say we don't know what's going to happen, but they're preparing for different outcomes.
Yeah.
They have the farm in Patagonia or in New Zealand. Like it's kind of a common theme in the very, very successful and rich people in crypto, right? So what do you do? You also you think, I'm soon a couple of years age to be retired. I don't care anymore.
Don't forget where I am in that journey. So I've been driving this all forward. I have a whole research service called The Exponentialist that's a spin out of GMI that talks all about this stuff all day because I think it's one of the most important topics of all time. In fact, it's a civilizationally important topic. It's the biggest thing humanity's ever going to go through. And we're about to go through it all together. And it's going to happen at fucking lightning speed. So, firstly, don't ignore it. Be involved. Understand it. Use it. Secondly, when you project forward into the world, we don't know what it means for jobs and how we accrue wealth and all of these things. But I do know that what do humans do better than anything else? What's the one thing humans can do that the AI can't do? Is be humans. And you know that the difference between doing an in-person podcast versus a Zoom podcast.
That's why I'm white.
That's right. You're pasty, white, tired because you're on a plane all the time. But it's a different energy. And so because humans, we give off pheromones, we're just social creatures. So humans being humans is going to be very important. And this is the rise of communities and all sorts of stuff, both physical. Why are we all in Dubai? I mean, here's the insanity. Somebody said to me, why aren't there any stock market conferences where 20,000 people turn up? I'm like, that's a very good point.
It's a very good question, yeah.
And it's because there's so much money in this space. Everyone has their hopes and dreams in this space. There's opportunity, technology, all of this stuff. But also, we're so terminally online, us lot in fucking crypto, that it's just nice to get together, have a beer and give somebody a hug, right? It's just simple things. So I think that is important. So
now I understand the hug when you arrived.
It's always that, right? And I always do because we spend so long online. And then, so the counterpoint to all of this is nature. Yeah. So human experiences, being human, and nature. And, that's one of my things about Little Cayman for me is like, that's nature. That's my escape. The robots are not going to take over Little Cayman anytime soon. So it's the counterbalance to being even more online. And if I think about what I'm doing, I've already developed an AI Raoul that reads the news every day. The news is written by AI as well. On the other side, I've built a Raoul chatbot, voice in my voice, trained on all of my X content, all of my YouTube content, and 100 books that I gave it. And people can now, on Real Vision users, can go to that and talk to me. Soon, those two technologies merge. And then, what does it mean for podcasts? What does it mean for media? Everybody's media is going to be different. Choose your own adventure.
I think it's amazing. People are scared. I think it's amazing. I'm thinking about the day I mean, if I ever have kids, for example, or I have friends, right? Or I die.
You've got to get a girlfriend first, Kevin. That involves not running around the world every
Pudgy penguin. First start. No, but like being able to, for people to come either ask you question in the business context, but even like your family or when you're gone, right? They can come and ask you questions and your advice on things.
Okay,
this is incredible.
So here's a really important thing. We've spent our lives fighting over privacy. I don't want my stuff online. I'm starting to change my entire mindset, which is at some point, I want to publish every photograph I've ever taken into, we can all have our own personal LLMs, but we're not going to exist unless that exists in this bigger supercomputer that's being built, this ASI. Our memory can live forever, everything we've ever said, everything we've ever done, and we can live forever because we can basically, if it is consciousness, is that a way of accessing consciousness in perpetuity by allowing these models to be us? Yeah. So I'm starting to think through all of that.
Makes a lot of sense.
And 6529 was the guy who made me think that. It was 2 years ago. He wrote a thread. He's really smart. And he wrote a thread about photographs. I'm not a good photograph taker, snaps of friends and doing this. I just don't do it. Yes, I take, when I'm on holiday or whatever, or I've got a dinner party, I'll take a photo, but just not normal stuff. And he's like, take more photographs than you can ever imagine you ever want because it's important. And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And then he goes on to explain is don't worry about having a photograph library of 50,000 photographs because AI will soon catch up and then it will sort it all. And now I'm realizing it creates you forever. So imagine if you've got 50,000 photographs of you and your friends. Well, in a metaversal world, you can be rendered in a 3D digital way. You've got maybe your entire thought process because every email you've ever written, every text message, every voice call, everything eventually will feed the AI, your AI or the bigger AI. And therefore, maybe you live forever. Are you alive or dead? I don't fucking know.
We talked about macro, crypto, AI, living forever, shit coins. That was all a warm-up.
Oh God, what are you going to ask me?
Let's talk about the real stuff now. You like to say it doesn't matter, but certain things do matter. What's the thing that matters the most to you in life?
Life itself. And the enjoyment of it. So I've talked about this before. There's your comfort zone and where the magic happens. They don't overlap. Right? It's create as much magic in your life as you can by having experiences. Go and doing things. And it really reminded me of it because I've been working so hard and I had not done an adventure trip, classic Raoul adventure trip. And I went to Zambia with some mates and drove around the bush in Zambia, not with guides or anything, but in the middle of the wildlife, in the middle of nowhere. And it makes you realize what a joy it is to be alive. And so the most important thing is the joy of life. Because everything else, you can be cynical about everything. What's it going to get you apart from feeling miserable? But if you just approach the world with joy and wide eyes and appreciation, it's a fucking amazing journey.
I need to work on that. I mean, I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm having a lot of fun, but I'm probably not spending enough time touching grass.
No, and I had this conversation last night with some pretty well-known people in the space, very OGs, and they're the same thing. They're like, I'm missing that element. And yes, it's exciting to be in this space. It's exciting to be in this moment in time. But are you yet truly living it all? Is your life rich enough in context and experience to say that was the best use of your time? I'm not good with allocating my time yet. I think we've even talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
It's a really hard thing to do, but I do know I need to block out time to do those things, or I'm just away from computers and bullshit and cynicism and fears and just go and see the magnificence of the world.
ask the next question to Anthony Scaramucci. It's about the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene that I read recently. It's actually Anthony's favorite book. This book, in a nutshell, talks about the fact that every human has a dark side. I'd like to ask you, what's the deepest and darkest dark side of yours that you have to deal with and have learned to control to master life?
I don't have a particular dark side. You have things that you know about yourself and that you adapt to.
For example?
For example, I've never been particularly good at anything.
Interesting.
So I don't compete. I've learned to compete with myself. And that's a weird thing. So what I mean is I grew up in a street of 10 houses, little cul-de-sac, 15 kids, all roughly the same age. It's like idyllic in a nice village outside of Windsor. And one guy was the captain of the county football team. The other was captain of cricket. The other one was a sprinter. The other guy, they're all better than me. And I was better in school than most of them, but even in the school, I was like in the middle of the pack. And I was just never good enough. So I just realized that there was no point competing. And what was I going to get competing with other people? It didn't make them more successful. What I did was compete with myself. So it was an adaptive skill that I learned that really helped me.
Yeah.
I won't even play board games. I won't play card games. I won't go to the casino. I won't do any of it. Don't like any of it. It's weird. It's programmed within me.
Interesting.
But I don't know if I've got a...
But it's actually very helpful because the earlier you learn to compete with yourself, to look at yourself yesterday or 6 months ago, am I doing better? Am I a better person, etc.? And you stop comparing yourself to others, the obviously, like, the better your life quality will be.
And we get back to, how do you view life, through what lens? They're doing that to me. They're stopping me there. They. Woe is me. I've got this problem, that problem. How I look at it is manifest your destiny. If we live in a quantum world, you can create future outcomes. You can create the outcome. You choose the path. So you choose the path, or you try and attempt to choose the path that manifests your destiny. Now, how I do that is I go and live in the future in my head. What do I want? How do I want to be in 3 years' time, 2 years' time, whatever the time horizon, 5 years' time? And then you look back from that point and say, how do I make that happen? What would it be true for that to be the case? Oh, you need to do this. And it helps you make decisions. So you don't see everything as obstacles. You see them as little speed bumps that you need to get over, or a bit of a maze to get around. Do you always get to that destiny? No, but you get somewhere closer to it. As opposed to, what's life going to do to me today? No, what am I going to do to life today?
Love that. You're in your mid-50s? I'm in my
Sadly. I can't fucking believe it, but carry on.
Do you feel sad or bad about it?
No, but the number go up, and that's annoying, right? The number go up.
The wrong number goes up.
I feel like I'm about 42.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm not. I'm 57. I'm like, what the fuck? The number's going up wrong. It's not. That can't be the case.
It flies. It's crazy. So you're...
How old are you? You're still...
33. But I'm also thinking, holy shit, I need to find a girlfriend. I'm 33.
Well, you're going to find one this way. You got to stop wearing that. You got to stop wearing that T-shirt for starters. Every time I see you, it's the same bloody T-shirt. The girls are going to notice that.
It changed now. You mean like the black T-shirt? So
with when shift happens on it, they're like, Kevin doesn't have any clothes.
Actually,
and he's always got a stupid penguin.
Well, talking about that, I've been wearing the same Zara T-shirt since I'm 18, but now I just added some logos on the top. So you're even more true than and I've been having this, especially women. They're like, Kevin, you're always wearing the same fucking clothes, and I'm like, yeah, but in the morning I don't want to think, right? So I changed the pants. Like,
so what you're telling her is, I don't care what you think, and I'm not going to do it.
No. Actually, I changed the pants. Like, I mean, not today, but I have like wider pants because women like wider pants, like not tight pants. But when I do podcasts, I like to feel comfortable. Anyways.
Good, I've embarrassed you.
It's okay. It's okay.
But trust me, this is not going to help your ability to get a girlfriend.
They feel more safe. And they don't see. Anyway.
Oh dear. We need a psychologist here. We need ChatGPT on your psychology mode.
I started to see a psychologist 3 weeks ago, but that's the story for another day. Every week. Anyways, you're 57, I'm 33. Tell me something about your life that I can take with me for the next half of my life.
It's the same thing. I keep telling people this. Your comfort zone and where the magic happens. The reason you change your entire life, and I remember talking to you about this in Singapore, is you completely went outside your comfort zone and you did something new from scratch. And it completely changed your life. But you are now in your comfort zone, so you will have to find something that's outside your comfort, like having a girlfriend.
I mean, my comfort zone, you came for the third time on the podcast, like that's definitely the definition of comfort zone.
That's right.
Who should I have next? Oh, Raoul.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Right? Just keep doing that. Get out of your comfort zone. Let the magic happen or fail in something, that is where life is. And also just get off this bandwagon sometimes. Just get a backpack on or go and do something that's different. And then you come back refreshed.
Thank you, Raoul. Now I know what I have to do in my life.
It's been your counseling session today, isn't
I
it?
need to go find a girlfriend. And most of all, thank you from almost everyone in the space for being the guy that we can turn to when everyone is in panic mode. I'm just worried that the day that you're panicking, if you ever do, no one will listen.
As you know, it's really hard to carry everyone's hopes and dreams. And again, we've talked about this a couple of times. It's fucking terrifying for me. And
that's why you drink.
That's why I drink, yeah. Well, of course. And then will I get it right? And it's a weird thing because people want to get out of the cycle and buy back in, and I don't really want to do that. And so, there's a mismatch of interest. So you have to kind of get that across, which is the lifestyle chips and all of that. Will I get it right? Will I end up with egg on my face? Will everybody hate me again? I don't know. It's pretty miserable doing that. But I know it's the right path to try and help people. If I'm right that we're going from 3 trillion to 100 trillion, we're only 3% there. And when you understand that, you realize how powerful it is to help people. And it's not going to accrue to just a few rich people. It can accrue to anybody. It can accrue to that Uber driver in his own way, in a way that he could not imagine. And so the more you can help people, yes, it's very exposing to me. It's terrifying. But if I get this right in any way, shape or form, I've done something good.
Thank you. That was awesome, as usual.